I'm sitting with a 1921 Jose Flix guitar down here on some paper on top of the end block is a dedication to Domingo Prat. He was in Barcelona at the time doing concerts and trying to rejuvenate his love life with Carmen Farre. It's a long story that's covered in my book, Annotations for the History of the Classical Guitar in Argentina, 1822 to 2000. So I'll spill the beans. From the Blanca Prat interview that was done in 2002, she passed away some years ago. She's got a couple sons that have survived her. So Carmen Farre in Barcelona was taking guitar lessons with Domingo Prat about 1915 when he was there. In between his being, he'd already been in 1908, 1910, 1912. He had already been in Argentina several times. So Carmen Farre is taking lessons with Domingo, and they went out to lunch, fell in love, all that stuff. So when he went back to Argentina to teach Maria Luisa Anido, who became famous later in life as a great guitarist, I think she died in 1997. So he went back to continue to teach her. She was studying with Josefina Robledo, I believe, at the time. He was in Barcelona. And so when he got back there, his girlfriend, Carmen Farre, was taking lessons with Emilio Pujol. And they ended up falling in love, and Emilio asked her to marry him, and she said yes, and she got an engagement ring. Domingo came back, found out what was going on, and this was about 1919, I guess, and so where he stayed for a couple years until he ended up getting married to Carmen Farre, who became Carmen Farre de Prat. And he said, "You've got to come to Argentina. I teach there. I have a huge following. I've been there for over a decade." So they went back and stayed. He made another trip around 1930 to try and learn more and more to add to his Diccionario de Guitarristas y Guitarreros. And they took Blanca, who was very small, and her sister, I'm blanking out on her name now. So anyway, that's the skinny on how Carmen Farre became Domingo Prat's wife and all the stuff that went on. Eventually, Emilio Pujol married Matilda Cuevas, who was a really good flamenco guitarist. And when they went to Argentina in 1930, it upset the audiences. Emilio had already played in Barcelona, from Barcelona. He had already played in Buenos Aires in earlier tours of 1919. In fact, he had the Spanish influenza when Juan Carlos Anido found him in his hotel room in 1919. And so anyway, by 1930, they went to Argentina, he and Matilda, and they did complete set of classical guitar duets on two Antonio de Torres guitars that they both owned. And then she would do a set of flamenco, and that drove people nuts because ever since the 1880s, there had been denunciations of flamenco and approval of flamenco, depending on what newspaper you read, what concert or wega was written about in the press. And so what happened was Celestino Fernandez had bankrolled the 1930 tour of Emilio Pujol and his wife, Matilda Cuevas, and he lost a fortune because as people got phone calls from Buenos Aires to Rosario, Santa Fe, se van a tocar flamenco en el segundo tiempo. And so as people heard that there was going to be a flamenco set and it wasn't going to be a pure concert of classical guitar duets and solos, people stopped going to the hotels where these engagements were done. So all of that you can read in detail and see photos of all these artists in my book, Annotations for the History of the Classical Guitar. In Argentina, 1822 to 2000. I'm going to play this. This guitar needs this currently to be playable. I imported this from Spain weeks ago, and the spacing of the gears is just under 32 millimeters. And current spacing since 1976 has been 35 millimeters, and before that it was 36 millimeters. So I've talked to Rubner and to the people at Rogers Gears. So I have a 3 to 5 month wait to get plates of 3 gears that will fit this size of spacing. So my repair guy just brought this in, and so this is zircote with a ebony layer, and it's screwed in so there's no abuse of the holes in the side of the guitar headstock. Same thing over here. We got the zircote block with an underlayer of ebony. You find ebony underlayers underneath the ivory on violin bow tips, viola bow tips, cello bow, bass bow tips. So this is a strengthening feature here. And then we got viola pegs that are all designed to be able to. So this is an old set. This is an old set of Hanebach strings and La Bella crystal nylon trebles. It's got a marvelous sound. I'm going to put a new set of strings, different brand.